Well, I'm in First Kings, and things are really going well for Solomon. He got, God has actually come to him and made himself known to Solomon and tells him how great he's done and how awesome. And he warns him not to, not to forsake him, not to go to other gods. All right, so then comes the Queen of Sheba, and she just wants to check him out. I got to look up where who's the Queen of Sheba? What is Sheba? Right, I can look that up. But she comes and she asks a whole bunch of questions, and he has the answers. Right, he just impresses her, and then with all how his servants, the way they're dressed and the way they carry themselves, and how his furniture. I mean, he's just got her wowed, right? And so she gives him gold and stuff, and he gives her stuff, and back and forth. They're and she leaves all just super impressed. Okay. There's no involvement that I can see, other than two nation leaders, um, building rapport, right? But then after that, he just like drastically falls away. Has like 70 wives and 30 concubines, and starts, worshiping these other gods, these idols, and just goes against everything God told him not to do. Does everything God told him not to do. He just flat goes hog wild in that direction, and it's like, how can something like it kind of reminds me of some relationships I've had, and you gotta know, you gotta know when that horse is in the barn, and it's been said you can only get negative when the horse is in the barn. But just I've seen some things. I've seen people that seem to be the harshest with the people they're closest to, and what it is they're actually, they've accepted them at their worst. So they're like okay with showing them their worst. They put their hair down. You can only put up a facade for a certain period of time before the real person comes out. Okay. And it's in the, there you go. And people can be really sweet and nice to the people that they're just meeting, but when it really comes, when you really get to know them, and they show you, what they really are, it's you got to really love them to deal with that. And then something else happens. One of David's sons from another wife, that ran off to Egypt, he puts in charge of all of the tribes of Israel except Judah. He leaves the tribe of Judah under the control of Solomon's son. Okay. And this is, and you don't hear much about these other tribes. I read somewhere that they supposedly became the Vikings, which then became the Russians. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that interesting? The lost tribes of Israel. That makes you think. But what really makes me think is just like, my goodness, what would it be like? What would it be like if God came to you and told you, gave you all of that, just the most? Well, why would you go anywhere else? Why would you do anything but be loyal? Why would you even? I hear, and some of these guys I think are amazing. Some of these law of attraction speakers, right? But they are not bridging. They're not calling it God. They're going to call it a higher power or universal energy or something. But they are not giving it a personality. They are not giving that intangible power a personage. They're not identifying it as God. And if they did, then they'd kind of have to adhere to God's rule and God's way, which is in the Bible. But by not identifying it as God, then it's a force that we can wield, that we can control, rather than figuring out, the rules, how it wants, how we can have it. We can have that power, but we gotta have it. We gotta do it the right way. And they don't want to go there with that. People don't like to be, they don't like to take direction very well. Boy, I tell you. So I had an experience recently where I just was like, okay, so when are you going to be done with that excuse? And I said it like, when are you going to be done with that? And they did not want to commit. They were using something as an excuse, and I was trying to find out when that excuse would be over, and they knew what I was doing, and they just quit. They just flat quit on me. And I've had it happen before, and I shouldn't, when I started SEAL training the second time, there was 120 of us that started the class. 44 guys quit. 44 guys quit before breakfast Monday morning. And these guys were studs. These guys were, they went through screens, intense screening and to make sure they were somebody that could make it through training, and but they didn't, that the first guy that quit was the guy sitting next to me. Next to me, it was his second time going through, and when he got up the first night, 14 guys got up and quit with him. Just like that. As soon as that door opened, as soon as that excuse to quit came up, they took it. And that's, you gotta kind of watch. You gotta qualify. You gotta. Not everybody's meant to go through it. Not to, And so when you're going through hard times, when things are going tough, you just know that you're earning it. You just got to know that you're paying your dues. It's like going to the gym, right? And you keep going to the gym, and you're gonna like going to the gym because you like what you can do. You like how you feel. You like how you look in the mirror. All of that, right? And it pays off. 56 years old, and I did 3 sets of 18 pull-ups today, and did a whole lat and bicep workout this morning, and feel pretty good about me about that, but there's not a lot of guys out there my age doing what I'm doing, and There's a reason for that, you know, and they don't want to. It's hard to make them. It's hard to make them, you know. And I feel bad for a lot of them. I feel bad for a lot of guys younger than me, because you know, they're never gonna be where I'm at. Never. And it's sad. It is sad because their life, their quality of life is already suffering. All right, and I'm just, you know, I'm feeling for God right now, pouring all that into Solomon and getting, you know, having him turn his back on him. It just, I feel for God for that, you know, and I'm getting to a point where I find myself trying to figure stuff out on my own, and then I'm like, okay, let me go to God. I got to start go to God first, all right, and then get the download, get the answer, because I think that might work better. But at least I'm going there, you know. I've gotten myself to that point where I'm thinking about it. You know, I'm thinking about the scriptures I read all the time, and I read them. And I think about them all day. I think them all night, and then I meditate in the morning, and then I go work out thinking about it, and then I come and I talk about it. And it's, you know, it's what we're told to do. We're told to meditate on God's word, and that's what I've been doing. And I keep seeing a repetitive situation where God does so much. It's like when and Solomon really wasn't at a point where he was calling on God because he had a desperate need. You know, he went to him early and often and got the reward, but then all of a sudden something he got full of himself. You know, like he forgot where it all came from.